Though we cannot think alike, may we not love alike? May we be of one heart, though we are not of one opinion? These words of John Wesley have guided thousands of worshipers in the Haddonfield Methodist community and around the world since they were first spoken in the 18th century. Begun not as a church, but rather as a movement, Methodism has become the big tent among churches, embracing diversity of individual thought and encouraging seekers to come and discover themselves.
The Methodist Church is not creedal, whereas other churches make a big thing of their creeds, and we have not done that. And that goes back to Wesley. You know, Wesley really was not a doctrinally rigid kind of a person. For him, it really did boil down to love of God and love of neighbor. And he says it quite clearly.
I think one of the things I liked about this church from the very get-go was that we had several really different expressions of understanding and of experiencing faith, but we were together.
There's always been this sense that the Haddonfield Church was a place where if you were a newcomer, you were greeted and welcomed and asked to become involved. So that's always been that way.
We come here for a variety of reasons: to worship in a traditional or more contemporary setting, to probe the depths of our spirituality, to seek guidance for our everyday lives, or simply to be inspired.
Using New York City as a point of reference, I often say that Haddonfield United Methodist Church is like a city like New York, where everyone who lives there considers themselves a New Yorker, but their world might be pretty small. People who live in that neighborhood, you can, even though you're in New York with how many million residents, you can day after day run into the same people. It's a little neighborhood. This church is very similar. It's a large church. We have 1,350 members roughly right now, but people have their own circles, their own neighborhoods. And while we coexist here in a loving and gracious way, given our diversity, people find those areas of common interest, common conviction, and common connection. And it's really beautiful when people can connect in ministries intergenerationally with people different than them, or cross theologically, or cross worship styles. I'm really excited about the future, especially the more I learn about the history and the historic role of this church. And I think our future is in becoming who we have always been. I think there are three major parts of the DNA of this church that as we harness it again in the future, that's really where we are to live out our role. And that is inspire, connect, and empower.
When we're feeding people, when we're clothing people, when we're finding ways to create job training, and when we're doing things like affordable housing, that gives us an opportunity to get next to people and share the love of God with them. So I hope we'll look at the changing times, not as the end of the church, but as the beginning of new church ministry.
Throughout our history, despite our size, despite social and cultural changes in the outside world, it is our love and devotion to God and to each other that bind us together. As we mark our 190th year,
light,
faith,
forgiveness, promise,
peace,
grace, mission, love,
assurance,
reconciliation,
hope, kindness,
friendship.